You are listening to the Marketing Equation Podcast with Martin Shervington.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Marketing Equation. I am joined today by a fellow named Stewart, who I connected with. Well, we're going to tell you the backstory on this, because it was a Twitter, you may not even know this, Stewart, it was a Twitter connection originally, because you did social marketing well, and I got to become aware of your company, which is Turing Cloud. And you're based in California. Do you want to explain what you're up to?
Sure. So we've produced a suite of productivity tools that are really targeted at salespeople, and they include products for email, chat, calendar contacts, notes, and tasks. And so you can do all of those functions within our productivity suite, and they have a bunch of additional features that are targeted at salespeople.
Cool. So, where should we begin with this? So that's good. That's a nice top level. What problem are you solving, would you say, in the market?
Sure. So I think that, one of the fundamental problems is just that some of the existing email clients and services are really built for the general audience. So Google and Microsoft build Gmail and Outlook for pretty much everyone. And so then there's certain functionality and features that they don't incorporate into those, such as email tracking, mail merge capability, CRM integration. And so you've seen a few entrants come in and start providing those, but typically they're done with plugins. And so they'll build on top of the plugins, but then those plugins have some inherent limitations where they don't work on mobile because they're built as browser extensions. They don't have the same control over the technology. They usually have a number of limitations in terms of what they can do in terms of integrating with the email sending process. And so we've actually built the entire software suite itself that's targeted at that use case. So basically, I think the problem we're solving is that the main tools that people use are built for the general audience. They don't come with the features, and the existing people who have provided the solutions have done so in a plug-in fashion that have significant limitations, and that's what we've overcome.
Cool, and you've got integration with Salesforce, I know.
Yep.
So is the plan future integrations with more platforms, or is that the primary one?
Yeah, we definitely plan on integrating with more right now. So with Salesforce, you can. So one of the primary things people want is email tracking. So knowing when someone's opened or clicked on a link or reply to one of your emails, and we just automatically log all that information to Salesforce. You don't have to. So it'll look up the lead or customer that's associated with. So we've built integration with Salesforce. We also integrate with Twitter and social services, and we're going to be adding a lot more right now. But the thing we've focused on initially is integrating between our different software tools. So making sure the contacts is really integrated with the email, integrated with the calendar for scheduling, all of those. And then as a next tier, we'll build third-party integrations much more heavily.
So you're a startup.
Yep.
And it's exciting because everyone's got email and the things that you're doing. We all want better understanding of what is happening when people open. Also, when you're saying about the connections with Twitter, do you want to explain that? Because I love that social and email connection, because it's about identity, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, can you... What is the question you're asking there?
So you mentioned about the social integration with Twitter. How does that work in relation to the email? Are you matching the contact IDs between the Twitter identity and the email?
So what we're doing is you can search on the API based on someone's email address.
Yeah.
And actually we integrate with another thing called Full Contact.
Right. So I was going this way because I know the guys at Full Contact. They sponsored some 3D videos. So I love that. So that's how you're accessing the user
Sure.
ID.
So we have your email information. We then pull data from Full Contact. That provides a Twitter handle.
Beautiful.
Connect with the Twitter API. And that powers, for instance, a sidebar feature that you can view information about your contact whilst you're emailing.
See, great. All the dots are connecting. It's good.
Right. And I mean, regarding that and the Twitter connection that's one of the main things I've found to be very useful, especially as a startup where we have slightly more limited resources, social selling and social marketing.
Yeah.
And so I try to be pretty active in terms of connecting and following people who I think might be interested as potential customers.
Yeah.
And it's led to, and I be opportunistic, whether it's a podcast like this, or we've had things in terms of licensing deals, people interested in us developing more solution style offerings for them, and just sort of customers for our product as well.
Yeah, interesting. So, let's talk about the real nitty-gritty. I know people are going to listen and go, well, how does that social selling type work? From my memory, you followed me, I followed you back, you sent me a message and you say, hey, we've got a free trial and it's 30 days, but it was friendly. I felt, I did it. I stepped on and was like, do you know what? That works as a process. So, I like this area, kind of like, how do things connect to a point where you have a sales conversation? And so I'm always interested in such solutions. But the fact is that you did that, and as I said right from the start, it worked. So I think people taking away that it's like, you can break through the noise. You can still get in touch with people. Twitter is not about broadcasts. It's about relationships.
Well, I think the principle I try to keep in mind, I don't know if you've read the Cialdini's book Influence, but he talks a lot about reciprocity.
Yeah.
And when you take a certain action, people are often likely to reciprocate there. And so if you follow someone, then often they'll see that you follow them, and they'll do that back. And so another thing I'd maybe throw out there is a specific nitty-gritty. I have a friend from San Francisco who built this tool called Profile Hopper. It's profilehopper.com, and it's just a simple tool that you can use with LinkedIn, and it allows you to automatically, it goes through and automatically views a certain number of LinkedIn profiles and collects lead information about them, but also it shows those people that they looked at your profile, or that you looked at their profile, and so then they often look back at you, and then you can connect from there. And so I think this sort of thing where I've tried to instigate some sort of social connection, whether it be following someone or tweeting at someone or using their profile, often that leads them to do that back, and that can sort of be the icebreaker for starting an interaction.
Perfect. So what else have you found that's worked for you? Are you doing any ad spend stuff?
Yeah, well, we're just getting into some of the more pay-per-click advertising, and the main thing here is I just try to view everything as a hypothesis and be skeptical until it's proven itself, and try to limit sort of wasting a lot of money on stuff. But there's a few things that have reliably worked. We've talked about some of the social selling. Email marketing, where anyone who either starts our sign-up process or and doesn't complete it, or looks at our product demo, we put those into MailChimp and continue to email market at them when we have additional feature releases. Some of the I've tried some of the things like cold calling and that kind of thing, not as much success so far, but I'd say social selling, email marketing has worked very well, and then we have been getting some results with some of the paid advertising, and I think that could be good, but I'm still in the process of kind of optimizing those things, and I'm starting to look into SEO and a number of the other ththings there.
Cool. What about content, which obviously relates as well? Are you writing articles around that stuff?
Yeah, so we have a blog, and we've started doing that. I've been reading up on inbound marketing and putting out content to try to attract people, and that's something where which we're going to do, because when we put out articles, it does attract attention and drive people there. But that's something we've been doing with our email marketing list as well. But so one of the things is that I actually, especially as, and this might be relevant to people who are sort of startups themselves, I try to make pretty effective use of freelancers and kind of contract workers. And I typically use Upwork as sort of a service for that. But for instance, I just hired someone who is doing they're basically sending press release to tech bloggers and journalists on like a weekly basis. And I'm going to start getting a pipeline of content generation going there as well. So having some people writing content, posting that out, and distributing that.
Cool. So I've got a question. You don't have to give me the figure, but do you have a cost per acquisition for a new customer? Do you have that figure?
So right now we have a ballpark, but I'm getting more specific on that, and I'll give a specific figure right now.
I'm not looking for the fact. I'm more. It's you as a startup. Are you looking at it in that world, which is okay? There's a cost of acquisitions between this and this, based on each channel. I just wondering about the model that you're using, really.
Yeah, I mean, so there's I've one of the interesting things for me is I feel like early on it almost doesn't, and now I'm transitioning into being very metric based.
Yeah.
But early on, there's a time when it's almost premature to be overly metric based because you just don't have the big enough sample size, and the kind of this signals will we have X number of users doing this. Well, is that statistically significant?
Yeah.
And so I do have those numbers, but for a while, up until pretty recently, I honestly haven't been. I've been using more my intuition, and thinking about what might be best. And now we're starting to get kind of a sample size of data where it's starting to look closer at that.
Yeah.
But yes, and in terms of the cost of acquisition, I'm trying to treat everything like that. And even when I'm trying to bring people on to help out with marketing or sales, I'm trying to do that in start out with a commission trial and see how effective they are, and try to gauge, because I mean, just to think about it in financial terms, a person as a salesperson, they're a customer acquisition channel as well, and it makes sense to have a cost of per acquisition for them in the same way that it does with Google AdWords.
Yeah, spot on. What wouldn't you do if you were giving lessons to people in this first stage that you're in? Because you're less than a year old, aren't you? You're less than a year old? We're
less than a year after launching. We launched in our initial version of the product in October, but there was a little bit of product development before then.
Okay. So what wouldn't you do again?
Well, one thing that we've done, so after launching, we launched initially with just the email as a general purpose offering, which was sort of targeted at power users, but it was basically, like using Gmail or Outlook plus some additional features.
Yeah.
Then we built the sales tool and the sales niche. And if I were going back, I would have gone straight to the niche or going niche straight away. And I think that it's easier to attract people's attention. It's easier to market. It's easier to determine what keywords to go after, and all kinds of stuff when you're focused on a niche. So I think one thing we did was starting general and then going niche, and I would have gone the other way if I'd started off. I think that one other thing. So I mentioned now, bringing people on commission trials and stuff, and there were a couple times when I really wasted some money on people who I brought them on. I was paying them an hourly rate, and they weren't kind of, and I paid them for a while before determining whether they could really get results.
Yeah.
And another thing there that I learned was there are some sales cycles that just aren't applicable to an early stage business. So one of the guys who, we wasted a few $1,000s on, which, may or may not sound like much to some people, but, for an early stage company that could have been allocated elsewhere. He had an enterprise sales background, but it was with large companies. So he was trying to go for like the C-suite thing, and when he was communicating. And then when I sort of finally started talking to him about what our expectations were in terms of showing real results, he was saying, it's going to take him 4 months to show anything, and that would be at full time. And as an early stage startup, we can't think about in the same way you would if you're selling to a really large company.
Yeah.
It has to be more kind of scrappy growth hacking and just doing anything that gets results. So I think that there's some things that I've done that wasted money. There's some things that I've done that we should have taken a better strategy early on in terms of our niche focus.
Hindsight's always good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
I would have had a perfect product to start with.
Yeah.
No bugs. I wouldn't have implemented any of those bugs. But I mean, those are some things, and then just paying really close attention to what works, because I think that there have been some times that there have been a number of things that were kind of counterintuitive, or pricing things, and I've now started implementing more A/B testing things, and we had some debates internally with my main co-founder, and there have been some where I was completely wrong on, some where I was right. And I think the sooner you can get to empirically testing that, the better, rather than going around and sometimes your intuition is right, and sometimes just completely wrong.
Yeah, interesting. Great. What's the future hold for you for the product over the next 6 months or so? What can people expect?
Sure. So, in the next kind of couple months, it's really about refinement. So, there's a bunch of performance optimizations, small features that we're going to be rolling out. So that's one of the main focuses. Secondly, we're really trying to build features that are targeting teams. So right now, most of our, the product has been about the individual benefit that someone would get from using our product, but we want there to be kind of mutual or team benefit for a team. So like kind of almost like a network effect within a team. Yeah. So things like team templates, team chat, team tasks. So you're going to see teams. And then the third thing is you're going to see us get even more refined on our niche targeting. And so there's some stuff that we're going to have that's really targeting SaaS salespeople and people who are doing that. And there's going to be, I'm not going to disclose specifics there, but there's stuff in terms of incorporating real financial metrics for SaaS, and in terms of a kind of sales/marketing automation, which we do have some stuff in terms of scheduling out staged mail merge campaigns that automatically go out, but we want to do more on that front. So those three things: one, a lot of refinement; two, team, more stuff for teams; and three, that further niching on SaaS sales.
Perfect. Stewart, where can everyone find you?
You can find us at www.turing-cloud.com or -cloud.com or turingemail.com. You can find us on the Apple App Store, or just Google us and sign up for a free trial and see how it goes.
Good. And how can they find you? You've got a long name. If I say your name, Stewart Alexander Macgregor Dennis, what's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is Macgregor Dennis. If you want to follow me, I do tweet about product updates. And I try to be pretty responsive. So if you mention me, sometimes things get lost in the DMs. And honestly, I'll give out my email as well. So Stewart, Stewart at turinginc.com is my email address. And I try, I do own an email company, so I try to be pretty responsive there.
Fantastic. Everybody, that was Stewart. Hold on a second. And turingcloud.com. So Turing, TURING-cloud.com. There we go. Go and check it out, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Marketing Equation podcast, brought to you by plusyourbusiness.com and effective.fm.